my Lego kingdom. Far, far away, away from the conflict between the Dragon Emperor Nograd and King Cuthbert, away from the duel about to be fought between General Scaliosus and the Vampire Lord Vinted, beyond concern for the escaped shapeshifter sent by Nograd to kidnap the king, lies a castle. No, not so much as a castle, as a massive tomb. It is the tomb of the Old One, a vampire so powerful that kings and emperors are said to quake at the mere mention of his name. The Old One rests in a coffin within this mighty fortress tomb, the entrance of which is guarded by his undead skeleton legions, including the terrifying winged skeletons. The doors of this fortress lie behind two massive, movable walls of stone. Let's open up those massive walls and look inside. On the first floor, we see a trophy case. Inside, the head of King Skotin IV, decapitated in battle by the Old One, and placed in suspended animation along with his body, and placed on display so that all his enemies and allies alike would know the power of the Old One's sword. On the opposite side of the room lay more trophies of war, but in another display case stands the greatest prize of all, the Cup of Death, a golden goblet filled with the blood of the Old One, for the moment when the Old One will rise from his hibernation to drink of the cup and begin his bloody campaign of world domination. At the highest story of the fortress tomb stands the Grey Necromancer, keeper of the unholy spells. It is she who has been tasked with observing the world and knowing when the chaos is sufficient to awaken the evil Old One. And the Grey Necromancer has determined that now is the time. And so, after centuries of hibernation, in a chamber below the Necromancer, heavily guarded by skeleton troops, the Old One stirs, ready to rise up and drink from the Cup of Death. What will the reemergence of the Old One mean to the balance of power in the kingdom? Will Dragon Emperor Nograd and King Cuthbert reevaluate their relationship once they have a common enemy? The answer lies in the future. Tune in again next time and see for yourself. Hi, I'm Tom Bray since 1954. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. You know, this week I did something that I've always wanted to do and haven't done yet, and that's build a set with the idea that I was going to modify it along the way. And I haven't even done a mock yet. I haven't had the courage to make my own creation. But I knew that I wanted to start by doing a modification. And this is what I wanted a set to modify. Ever since the Dungeons & Dragons minifigure series came out, I knew that I wanted to take that vampire character, which I really fell in love with, and build an army of them, and to have a kind of a castle-type structure that would serve as a kind of headquarters or something that would fit in with that lore. And so I was looking for a structure that looked gothic enough that it kind of fit the vampire vibe. And a lot of you suggested that I look at the Harry Potter castles because they had a gothic kind of style to them. And so this set is set number 76413, the Hogwarts Room of Requirement. And it recently retired, so I bought it at the end of the last season when it went on sale. So it's no longer available through Lego, but it is still available in the secondary market. I thought that this fit the bill exactly what I was looking for. It was not too big. It's only like 587 pieces. So I knew it would fit in size-wise to my fantasy castle kingdom. And also, I felt that it would be easy enough to modify for my needs. And so let's take a look at it, and let me show you what I did. So if you look at the front here, the first thing you'll notice is that I added some skeleton troops, some archers way up high. And that's because in my mind, the old one commands a skeleton army. So that was easy enough to do. And kind of cool looking. As you go down the front of the castle, you'll notice immediately that I added a bunch of cobwebs, of spider webs. I bought a bunch of these on Pick-a-Brick, the wall at my local Lego store not too long ago. I saw them and I thought, I think I can use these eventually for a vampire modification that I want to do. The only really modification I had to do was to figure out how to attach them, and so I did that with those clips along the way. And I think it turned out really neat, and I like the way it looks. The only thing that's missing on it is a spider, spiders on the spider webs. That's because I haven't ordered them on Pick-a-Brick yet, but I'm about to do that, so I look forward to getting them. The other modification I did on the front that you can see is that I removed the area that would be for the stickers that were heralds and those kind of plaques that went across the front. And I modified it so that I could use a shield with the bat insignia on it, because in my mind that's the old one's symbol. And so that's what I did out front. It wasn't very substantial, didn't take much. You'll also notice on the front here, and this is part of the original design, just those sliding doors. Now, if we turn around to the back of this, this is where I did most of the heavy lifting as far as the modification goes. On the main floor, I removed most of the items that are from the room of requirements because I wasn't going to use them. The things that I did retain were the display cases. And as you come through the door, you'll notice on one side, there's the head of a dragon paladin. And I imagine that the vampires and the dragons are natural enemies. And so in my lore long ago, this king of the dragons was defeated in battle and placed in suspended animation, his head inside of the case. And I knew I wanted to display the armor too because it's just a really cool part of that piece. So I built a kind of platform out of these purple bricks, and I liked the look of that purple. If you go across the floor to the other side of the room, you will see another display case, and you'll see the King of the Skeletons guarding it there, and another big spider web. Also, you'll see this pedestal with a helmet and another trophy of war. I swapped out what was a blank head for an actual minifig head because it was more grotesque. I also took the Quidditch brooms off of the wall on either side of the door, and I replaced them with battle swords. I thought that was more in keeping of the vibe. But inside that display case is, the cup of death, which I imagine is the blood of the old one that he has to drink when he's reanimated. And I put a spot of blood on the tile floor too, which I think was kind of cool. Now, if you go up the columns, you will see another modification I had to do to put more of the shields with the bat insignia on them. And in that case, I used the purple color again, as well as blood red. It wasn't a difficult modification, but I think it worked really well anyway. Now, if you go to the very top of the inside of this castle, you will see what originally was that kind of gray ghost character from the Harry Potter set. And I reimagined her as the Gray Necromancer. And I really like the way this turned out. I used the head of the Necromancer from the Dungeons & Dragons minifigure series, and I put in her hand that kind of electric spell thing that the witch character used also from that series. Now, she's the keeper of the spell book, which is in back of her, and she's the one that kind of looks out across the kingdom to see when the time is right to reanimate and wake up the old one so that he can go out on his mission of destroying the world. She's guarded by a skeleton soldier as well, because she's a very important character. Now, if you go down a level, you'll see an open space on the roof where skeleton troops are guarding the tomb of the old one, which is right next door. But before I show you that tomb, I want to show you the winged skeleton that I created using the Ranger character's wings from the Dungeon & Dragon minifigure series. And I'm really excited about that. And I hope to order some more skeleton pieces from Pick-a-Brick, build a complete faction just of those winged skeletons. Now, if you look inside, this is the tomb of the old one. And I did a pretty good job of kind of making this up from the parts that were in the set, as well as using some base plates from the Dungeons and Dragons minifigs. You can see the little rat with his red eyes guarding him. He's rising out of his coffin there. And the head is not from the original Dungeons and Dragons figure. That's the thing that I changed there. I wanted the old one to have a different face. And so I found a minifig that was a vampire from an earlier series of collectible minifigs, and that's what I used, and I think it really turned out well. He's, of course, also guarded by a skeleton figure. And, of course, there's a cobweb in front of him, and that cobweb kind of hides the weaknesses of the build. But I think it turned out really well. I'm really excited by this build. And I would love to hear from you whether or not you think this set might be of interest to you, even to find on the secondary market, or if there's other Harry Potter sets that you think might be adapted for Fantasy Castle lore. I'd like to know what you've been doing to build out your Fantasy Castle world, since, of course, Lego doesn't have a Fantasy Castle series anymore, so we have to kind of improvise along the way. That's it for now. Thank you so much for your support. I love hearing from you. Happy building.